His rod, His staff. He leadeth me. He restored my soul. He's talking about God. But listen, when he starts getting in a hard place, he goes, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will feel no evil, for you are with me. He's starting to talk to God here. And when things are good and calm, and there's not a lot going on, and there's not a lot of issues, we talk a lot about it, and it's good that we do, to give praise to God and to give testimony to God and to lift Him up. That's what He's doing here. You do all these things, you do this and you do that, and all that. But when it starts getting bad, we need to begin to get a little more intimate with God. We need to draw a little closer to God. We need to make sure that our focus is fixed on God. Now listen again, I want you to understand, I'm trying to make this clear. In these first 3 verses where He's talking about God, I want you to notice what He's looking at. He's looking at the grass. He's looking at the water. He's looking at He's looking at His blessings. And that's good. And we should do that. We should stop every once in a while and look. God give me a home. God supplied my food. And give Him praise and testify of these things. And that's what He's doing here. But listen, when He goes and He begins to go into the valley, He begins to talk to God. He said, I know I'm in the valley, but I ain't scared because I know you're with me. I ain't scared because I know you got that rod. I ain't scared because I know you got that staff. I ain't scared because I know you'll prepare a table for me. I ain't scared. I ain't worried. I ain't upset because you still endue me with your Spirit to give me the strength I need to go on, to give me the hope, to give me the courage. And not only that, do you do that, you give me the Spirit in such a degree that my cup can run over, that I can rejoice in the midst of all this. Listen, that's what we got to do. When we get into those places, we've got to get more intimate with God. We've got to draw closer to God. We've got to depend more on God. We've got to understand and realize that it is in this way that the sheep gave itself courage, that the sheep gave itself confidence, and knew who its shepherd was, and it knew when it needed to. It could go and begin to speak to the shepherd. It could go and say, hey shepherd, I was getting a little worried because it's getting dark in here, and there's all this stuff around where the animals could be hiding and this and that. So I just wanted to come and talk to you a little bit and get a little bit of reassurance. I wanted to come and see you still got that rod in your hand. I wanted to come and see you still got that table prepared for me. I wanted to come and see you still got the oil that I need. We need to do that. It helps us. It restores our confidence. It gives us hope. It gives us courage. And that's what this sheep did. And then, not only did he give God praise and glory and everything in the good times, and said, you gave me the grass and you gave me the water, you blessed me with all these things. In the bad time, he trusted Him and he depended on Him and he drew closer to Him and he took hope and he took courage and he took confidence, knowing that the shepherd was there and the shepherd had everything that he needed in order to provide for the sheep, in order to take care of the sheep, in order to deliver the sheep. Not only that, he never lost his hope. He never lost his confidence. He says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Why could he say that? Because he knew who his shepherd was. He knew his shepherd was able. These first 4 verses, it shows us, well, the first 3 verses, it shows us the relationship that we should have with Christ. It shows us how we should magnify Christ. It shows us how we should glorify Christ. It shows us how we should testify of Christ. That's what this sheep is doing. He's given God the glory and the honor for the things that He has provided for him, for taking care of him, for supplying his food and his rest and everything that he needs. And that's how we should be doing this thing. It's kind of an outline of how we should do this. But I want to kind of change gears here because it's another point that God has given me to make. as these sheep are going along, why would a sheep end up in a deep, dark, scary valley? Why would a sheep end up in the valley of the shadow of death? And a lot of time, and I've heard this in messages, and I'm not saying they were wrong. You can use this to describe that and make a point. But sometimes sheep wander off and get themselves in places that they shouldn't get themselves into. But that's not the case here. If you read how this is talking, he was led here. Why would the good shepherd, the shepherd who is willing to lay down his life for his sheep, why would he lead them into such a place? Why? Because that's the best way to get where he wanted them to go. A lot of time God has to allow things or take us through things to bring us to the place that he wants to bring us to build our faith, to build our trust, to build our hope, to build our confidence. Listen, in the beginning, as I said, he leadeth me in paths of righteousness. That path through the valley is a path of righteousness. He's leading them sheep in paths of righteousness so that he can get those sheep to the higher ground. He has to take them through there to get them to the higher ground. He has to take them through there to get them where he wants them. In the higher ground is where the good grass is and where the cool water is. But he has to take them through this in order to get them to that. I'm going to tell you something. If in the beginning here where I made that little description of the grass and the creek and laying back and just enjoying it and the warm sunshine, you know what a lot of sheep would like to do? Just stay there forever. If they had their choice, they'd just lay there with their hands behind their head, watching the clouds go by forever. And if that happens, they never grow. They never mature. They never get to the really good grass. So the shepherd sometimes has to lead them through things in order them to get them where he wants them to be, where they will grow, where they will flourish, where they will mature, where they will come to be the kind of sheep that he wants them to be. But what we need to understand is through this whole thing, even when it looked dark, even when it looked scary, even when it looked bad, the shepherd was leading them. We all know the scripture, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will go with you all the way. The shepherd is always leading you. He hasn't abandoned you. Sometimes you've got to go through these kind of places in order to get to the place that he wants you to be, in order to get to the place where the good grass is, where the good water is, where it's a place where you can grow and flourish and put on weight and mature. Sometimes it takes going through things like this in order to get to that place. I believe there are a lot of Christians who want to lay down in the green pastures that we start off with and just stay there forever and never move on. But you know, throughout the Word, we are called to grow. We are called to mature. We are called to increase. And you can't do that if you just lay in the grass with your hands behind your head and watch the clouds go by. But in order to get to that place of maturity, in order to get to that place of growth, sometimes you got to go through a valley. Sometimes you got to go through a place that looks dark, through a place that looks scary. And I want you to notice I emphasize the word looks, because as long as you keep your eyes on your shepherd, as long as you trust your shepherd, as long as you know who your shepherd is, you are in no danger.
That's right. Amen.
He provides in there just like he did in the green pastures. He takes care of them in there just like he did in the green pastures. And listen, it sounds like he goes even a little further in the valley, because in the valley he anoints them with oil to such a degree that their cup runs over. He's bringing them to a place that he wants them to be. And that's the case a lot of time when we have to walk through valleys, when we have to go through hard places, when we have to go through rough patches. That's the reason a lot of time, so that he can bring us to maturity. And I know, I say this kind of stuff a lot. I say these things, but I really want you to understand the point behind it. If all you ever do is jump and run and shout and holler, what are you going to do when it gets bad? if you haven't grown, if you haven't received strength, if you haven't increased, if you haven't matured, if you haven't gained wisdom and knowledge, what are you going to do when the devil pulls out all the stops? What are you going to do when he turns hordes of demons loose? What are you going to do then? And again, I know I say this stuff all the time, but it is to make a point. You know what? When the devil attacks you, when a bunch of demons attacks you, when he comes against you with those fiery darts, he ain't going to care how loud you shout. He ain't going to care how high you jump. He ain't going to care. I put this on Facebook. He don't care if you wave your hanky. Mm-hmm. You know what that looks like? Surrender. Mm-hmm. Can you fight? Are you strong enough? Have you matured to the point that you know your shepherd well enough? That's the question. Sure, you can lay down in the green pastures beside the still waters and stay there and soak up the sunshine. But you'll never grow. You'll never increase. You won't get stronger. You won't get wisdom. You won't get knowledge. Your faith won't be as strong as it should be. Your courage won't be what it should be. It is through the valley, it is through the hard time that these things are developed within us. It's through the valley, it's in the hard time that God teaches us, that God grows us, that God gives us those things that will enable us to fight. I know sometimes it gets worrisome and it gets scary and it gets hard as we go through this life and we have to face medical problems and financial problems and problems of all kinds. I know it gets hard. But here is the key to being victorious. Keep your eyes on the shepherd. Amen. Trust the shepherd. Believe in the shepherd. Remember, he has everything necessary to provide for you. You shall not want if you trust the shepherd. He has everything necessary to protect you. He carries that rod. He has what he needs to guide you. He carries that staff. He has everything he needs to give you that boldness and that courage and that drive. He anoints you with that oil. Everything you need is in the shepherd. But so often when the problems and the trials and the troubles come, when we have to go in that valley, our focus is so much watching all around us to make sure something don't sneak up on us or make sure another problem don't jump out at us. We're so focused on all that, we lose sight of the shepherd. And I'm going to tell you something. If you ain't watching the shepherd, it's easy to begin to just stray a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And if you keep going a little bit, before you know it, you're out here in the briar patch somewhere, or you've fallen over the edge of a cliff, or something has happened to you. You must keep your eyes on the shepherd. Satan will come all around you and make as much noise as he can make. Hey, he'll do everything he can to distract you and get your eyes off of the shepherd. But you've got to maintain that. You have to keep your eyes on the shepherd. If we would really, really make this personal, read this. Put yourself in there. Exactly what David is saying is what God did for David. This is David's testimony. And God is no respecter of persons. What he's done for one, he'll do for all. If all do what the one did. What did the one do? He trusted God. He believed God. He kept his focus on God. He depended on God. He didn't allow himself to be distracted by everything that was going on around him. His eyesight, his focus, his vision was always on the shepherd. Why did God put this in here? It's because it's comforting. It makes a good reading at a funeral. It's nice. It's short and it's easy to memorize and it sounds good. Everything is there is to tell you something. Everything in that book is to teach you something. Everything in that book is for a purpose Not just a purpose generally speaking, but a purpose for you. And if you read this and you make it personal and you understand, why does Christ so often compare us to sheep? And then when David's talking, he compares himself to a sheep, or the life of a Christian as a sheep. Because God wants you to understand. God wants you to get it. He tries to put it in terms that we can fathom, that we can get a hold of, that we can identify with. He says he is the good shepherd. And his sheep know his voice. And another they will not follow. You know all the scriptures about him being the shepherd and us being the sheep. Now go back to this and read about the sheep. That's you. He will take you through those good times, where it is the green gas and the still waters and the warm sunshine. He will take you through that. But there are going to be times to get you where he wants you. He's got to take you through that deep valley. He's got to take you through that dark valley. But even when you're in that dark valley, even when you're in that deep valley, listen to what he says. I'm still here with you. Amen. And I still got what you need. But in that valley, more than anywhere else, you need to watch me. You need to keep your eyes on me. You need to keep your hope, your trust in me. Because if you don't have like a laser vision, pinpoint vision, focused on him, locked on him, because if you don't do that, it's easy to get distracted by everything that's around you. It's easy to hear the wolf and turn your head. It's easy to hear a rustle in the bush and to turn your head. We have got to focus on Christ. I know this sounds redundant, and all we ever talk about is those kind of things. But listen, this is the life of a Christian. This is what it is to be a successful Christian. This is what it is to be a victorious Christian. This is what it is to walk through this life in joy, in peace, in confidence, having faith, having hope, having trust. This is what it is. It's all keeping your eyes on Christ. Trusting and believing that he will do what he said he will do. That he has what you need, no matter what the situation looks like, no matter what the circumstance looks like, no matter what it looks like out here around you. He will take care of you. But you've got to keep your eyes on him. You've got to trust him. You've got to believe him. And if you do, then I'm going to read this again and I'm going to be done. But I want to read this again and I want you to put yourself in there. And I want you to understand that this can be your testimony. This can be your entire life. If you will only believe and trust and keep your focus and your vision on him, then you can say this: the Lord is my shepherd. And because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I won't do without anything. I will have everything that I need. Not that the world thinks I need. Not that the flesh thinks I need. Not that anybody thinks I need. But everything he knows I need. Because he is my shepherd, I won't do without anything. He will take me to places where I can lay down in the green pasture beside the still water, soak up the sunshine, put my hands behind my head, watch the clouds go by. But there are going to be times when he's going to take me through the valley. But even when he takes me through the valley, he's going to be there with me. He's never going to leave me. He's never going to forsake me. He's going to go with me all the way. And even in that valley, he's going to prepare a table for me. He'll provide for me. I can still say in the valley, I can still say, I shall not want. In the presence of those who would destroy me, in the presence of Satan, in the presence of the world, in the presence of those who are against me, he's still going to provide for me. He's still going to take care of me. He's still going to give me what I need. He prepares that table before me in the presence of my enemies. Not only does he do that, he blesses me in the valley. He anoints my head with oil. He gives me his spirit. He blesses me in the deepest, darkest valley. Not only does he blesses me to such a degree that my cup runs over. And that's in the deep, dark valley. He is still going to do that with me. And yeah, I know Satan's out there trying to destroy me. And yeah, I know the world's out there trying to destroy me. But this I also know, he's got a big stick. And ain't one of them things can touch me. because he will take care of me. But I got to trust him and go where he leads me. And again, I want to say this because this is so key. He gently leads me. A lot of time, we're stubborn.